For those of you watching, thanks for your patience.
No, thank you.
And you all need paper and pen. I wish you were here in person, but we're going to do some fun stuff today.
You'll just have
all right, we're all good. Are we ready? Yay.
So you'll just have to click through.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, or else I can plug in the. Does this one work? Because mine does.
You can plug it in, but you'll just have to unplug the mouse then.
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're finally set up. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. If you are on Zoom and you need me to stop and explain something or do something, just yell. So today is going to be very different than what we did before, but yet just as important. So we talked about your life by design, knowing your numbers, how many transactions you need, how to move that into your GPS. We talked a little bit about the 411. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. But what we really are going to dive into, and you're going to have to bear with me, trust me that when we get to the physical time blocking piece, you will have learned a lot to get us there. Okay, so we need to build up. We're not just going to dive into a calendar and I'm going to tell you, hey, do this, do this, do that. It doesn't work that way. So what we're going to talk about comes from the one thing. So for those of you, if you do not have this, and the book is on the screen, this is a book you should get. Hi, come up closer. I would appreciate it, thanks. Okay, so this is from the one thing. It is what we call the trilogy of the Gary Keller J. Papasan books. So we've got the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the Shift book, which is very relevant right now, and the one thing. So the one thing helps us understand our mindset, our thought process is what's important to us and how we can then use that to even time block, to know what our priorities are so that we can live our life by design. So working long hours is cheating, okay? That's one of the things that we're going to talk about is how to be productive in your time block and what your priorities are so that you don't have to work long hours. How many times do we hear from people, oh, I'm working 7 days a week? How many times do we see on a Facebook ad for a real estate agent now that they're open 24 hours a day? Do you want to be open 24 hours a day? Do you want people calling you at 10:30 at night because they think it's okay because you told them it was? No, and you're cheating yourselves. You're cheating your family, your friends. Don't do that. So what we're going to look at today is a little bit about your thought processes, what your 20% is, and how to time block it so that you are productive in less time. A little bit about the one thing, and we talked about the domino effect. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today on this as much as we want to get into some other things in regards to time blocking. But if you haven't read the one thing, you should. In order to really go big, you have to start small. We've heard, you know, the just focus on the first step. And part of when we work through the GPS and the 411 is determining what is your first step. Start really, 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 really small. So here's an example of starting small. Someone that I was coaching through GPS and one thing on her personal, in her 411, she wanted to start writing notes for her daughters. Okay, so she just wanted to write a note every week, a little handwritten note to her daughters, they were getting older, they weren't around a lot, I was going to college. And she's like, well, I have all this stuff here and I really want to do it. And I keep writing it down, but I never do it. I said, do you have the notes? No. I said, okay, so next week, your one thing is just to buy the notes. Now, that sounds a little ridiculous to a lot of people. Well, they should have notes and get stamps and all of this stuff. No, just start really, really small. And there's been a lot of research, but in Gary Keller's experience, when he was really coaching his leadership team and he was giving them 3 things to do in a week, and nobody ever got all 3 things done. So he brought it down to 2. Okay, they still weren't getting it done. Then he brought it down to 1 priority. Can you do this one thing before we meet again next week? And what he experienced was that not only was it simple to get that one thing done, productivity and focus went through the roof. Okay, so determining what your priorities are and what your first step is to taking action on those priorities is really important to go really small. Extraordinary success is sequential, not simultaneous. What do you hear when I say that? What do you think that means? Don't move on to step 2 or step 3. We have a tendency to want to start at like domino 18. You got to go back to domino number 1. Okay. So now we're going to do a little bit more detail in what we learned from the one thing that has an impact on our productivity, that has an impact on our priorities and on our time blocking and how we can achieve our goals. There's a lot of lies. Okay. So when we talk about the lies, lie number 1 is everything matters equally. Okay. So when you think about that, how do you weight your activities? Do you think about what's most important? Do you try to prioritize things?
Not as much as it should. I mean,
Okay.
you know, in a business like this, it's kind of hard to weigh what's more important when it's kind of, you know, someone gives you a phone call, hey, I need this done. All right, let's get it done. Someone else gives you a phone call, hey, I need this done. Like, that's definitely something to have more.
And we're going to talk about that. It's hard to take a look at, unless you have a process, it's hard to look at the activities that we think we should be doing and determine what's more important, because everything does not matter equally. And when you look at your to-do list, how many people are overwhelmed? You can raise your hand instead of just smiling. I see you back there. Yeah. How many get overwhelmed when we look at our to-do list? Right? Does everything on that list matter equally? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, and how to prioritize and how to determine what really is a priority, what's going to move you forward to reaching a goal. And it doesn't have to be a business goal, it's your personal goals as well. But you have to start small, and everything does not matter equally. So if you walked into Gary Keller's office right now, and you will see this on my Zoom background, and I have it on my wall in front of my face so that I have to see it every day, and he looks at it every day. Until my number 1 priority is done, everything else is a distraction. So what do you think happens if you know what your number 1 priority is for any given day, and it's the first thing you do without distraction? Well, how do you think you would feel? Feel really good? What kind of energy do you think you'd have for the rest of the day? It's really, really good energy. And what would happen with that energy? You would get more done. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Do you know what your priorities are? And that's one of the biggest things with time blocking, is not just knowing what these priorities are, but focusing on the priority. Okay. Does anybody know what the 80-20 rule is, or Pareto's principle?
Hear a lot about it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Pareto's principle, and it's in the MREA and it is in the one thing. So Pareto's principle is that 20% is what you should focus on. So let me read just a little bit here. Who knows where it is? I have 1,000,001 things in here. The 80-20, when you look at Pareto's principle, he discovered, I'm trying to find, he discovered that, and this is in life everywhere, and you'll see it everywhere. So 20% of your efforts to concentrate on your 20%. I want to read it to you because it really makes more sense if I read it. I apologize. I know I have it marked. It's just that I have too many things marked. Okay, so if you look at it's 20% of your effort creates 80% of your results, but it shows up in life in other places as well. And it was a math model for income distribution in Italy, obviously Pareto, that's what it was. But he found that once he realized this particular law, it shows up all over. And an example, and once you're aware of it, you'll see it happening in other places. An example I was waiting in line to pick up not gourmet, but healthy food that I get from a chef. And she comes to a particular place at a particular time, and those of us that order food from her can come and pick it up. She was running late because there was a snowstorm. It's icy out today. And there were I actually stopped afterwards and counted because it occurred to me when she came and she showed up and she opened up the back of her SUV, 5 of us got up to help her and everybody else stood there. So I came back in and I kind of like started counting and I went, there's 31 people here. 20% would be 6-ish people. 5 of us got up to help her. There it is. Again, what's important for you to think about, and we talk about not everything matters equally and what your priorities are, is now you're going to take and look at what truly is a priority. What is my 20%? Okay, because then you know that's where your effort's going to go to. Now, is that easy to do? Are you easily distracted? Yeah. A squirrel. Oh, look. Right? So we're going to talk about very, very clearly how you can eliminate distractions. Okay. All right. Let's talk about that to-do list. How many of you keep like one big to-do list and just keep writing stuff down? How do you determine on that to-do list what it is that you're going to do?
Yeah. It's on the pressing matter goes to the top.
So what happens when you have a to-do list that has 20 things on it, and it's the end of the day, and you've only crossed off 2 things? What do you see on that list? What do you see?
Failure.
Failure. You see, and your thoughts go to all the things on that list that you did not get done. And is there something on that list that's probably a priority that would have been more important for you to do than the things that you did do? Yeah, okay. So when you're looking at your to-do list, you're writing down all these thoughts, all these things that you think you want to do. So there's a couple of things that are going to be really important. Number one, identify your 20%. As a real estate agent, what is our 20%? Lead gen? Come on, you were in bold, you know this. Lead gen?
Listings and leverage.
There you go. That's good. So lead gen, lead follow-up, listings,
Scripts,
appointments, listings,
script practice.
practice. Okay, so if we have this list, and these are your priorities, and you have your goals, and you've worked through the numbers on how to reach that goal. What should be on your success list, your should-do list, that should be removed from your long to-do list? Time blocking for lead gen, lead follow-up,
Script.
contracts, practice, script practice. Those are the things that are your priorities, because they're going to get you closer to reaching your goal. How many of you actually time block for those priorities?
I have a full, time block schedule. It's getting a cover schedule. Some things that just pop up now. One is that my calendar is completely time blocked. Do I ever stick to it?
Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that as well. But again, so you have your time block, you have a completely time block, but you have all these distractions that are getting in the way. Okay, so the first thing you do when you have your to-do list, find a different place to put it. Do not put it on whatever you carry around for you. Okay, so you should have a paper planner, and everybody has a digital calendar. Your digital calendar is not your planner. Okay, you should have a paper planner and a digital calendar. Your digital calendar just tells you who you're meeting with and what time you're supposed to be somewhere and what you're supposed to be doing from 9 to 11. It's not a planner, okay? And if your to-do list is nowhere near your planner, here's the bold planner is here, and you'll see notes and highlight things, and I found another planner that really helps. So what a lot of the top agents do, what I have learned over time, this is a really cool planner. It's called a planner pad. Because here's what's cool about it. At the beginning of each month, there's a blank page. Okay, I call this my garage. This is where I park all my ideas, all my to-dos, all my thoughts. Park them here. Okay, you still want to write them down and park them here, but then when you get to your planning, I have to look at it and say, okay, here's a list of activities by categories, daily to-do things, and my appointments. Now I'm going to look at that list, that long to-do list, and say, okay, my priority for this week is this. I know that I have to make this many number of calls every day to hit my goals, whatever it is. I move it to here because now I can't see the rest of the list. Okay, so you're going to just pick out, look at your to-do list. What should I be doing? Not what could I be doing? We could be scrolling on Facebook, and we could actually say, oh, well, it's really a business activity because I'm looking to see what my clients are doing so that I can comment. Is that really part of your 20%? So you really need to take your to-do list, keep a to-do list. You definitely want to write everything down, but then look at what should I do? So when you're looking at choosing what should I do, there's some questions you can ask. Does this activity move me closer to reaching my goal? If it's yes, it goes on your calendar, goes in your time block. When a distraction comes up, you have to be able, and you need to turn them off. You need to look at the list. Does this move me closer to my goal? Is it part of my 20%? Now, you know, you're going to have somebody come in and say, hey, there's this training going on, or there's this thing going on over here. Why don't you come? And you go, training here especially, it is really hard for me to say no. Because I love being on either side of this. Okay, but you have to really think about, because we could spend every day on some kind of Zoom or in some kind of training, but that doesn't pay the bills. So does this move me closer to my goal? If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? If I'm saying yes to something, I'm saying no to something else, right? Am I saying no to taking care of myself? That has to be one of your priorities. Am I saying no to lead gen or lead follow-up? Am I saying no to spending time with my family? Okay. I mean, there's an awful lot of things that you're saying no to when you say yes to something that isn't in your 20%. So,
Real life example, I'm struggling right now. Should I be here? Even though I've heard this and seen this before, but I need to refresh.
and
Or should I be out
right,
door knocking, getting ready for my open house tomorrow?
yeah,
Run to Marshalls.
And drop.
I go to Marshall's.
I like people that happens to drop off in a neighborhood for the open house. So I go do that
Okay, so why did you make the decision to be here?
because I always learn something new, and I always learn. I mean, even though I've heard it times, it's so good to do it again. And I need a refresher. It'll kick me back into place.
Repeating time on task over time creates mastery. You're not all going to hear this once. I've heard this probably 100 times in the last 7 years. I'm not at mastery yet. This is not easy, but it's really, really, really important. Okay, so keep your to-do list separate. Look at your to-do list and ask the question, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? What is my 20% that I know if I focus on will move me closer to my goal, that will produce 80% of my results? Questions on that? Make sense? Not easy, but you'll be able to do it. And it takes time. You may have to really think about it. Then, before we go into multitasking, one other tip. You're not going to be able to do this all at once. Again, we go back to that first domino. That's teeny, teeny, tiny. Here's a tip that I think will really help, that helps me an awful lot. When you are time blocking and you're planning in your paper planner, not in your calendar, because you can't put this on your digital calendar. Ask yourself, when you're looking at that to-do versus should-do list, what is the number one priority? What is the one thing I can do today that if I accomplish this will move me closer to my goal? Like Gary Keller went down to one thing when he was coaching his leadership team. What is the one thing I can do today, such by doing it, I will have been moved closer to my goal? Because we can all do one thing if we focus on just one thing. By focusing on that one thing, if you do 5 days out of 7, don't forget to do something for yourself on the weekends if it's not a work day for you. If you can do 4 out of 7, you've won the week. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but think of the momentum, the energy, the shift in your mindset If you can look at it and say, you know what? I did 4. The next week you'll get to 5 or 6 or maybe even 7, because now you're building momentum. Okay, energy is going to keep going. Your momentum is going to increase over time, because it's the little wins that will take you. So thinking small to go big is so important. Questions on that? Now we get to have some fun. So we're going to play a game called Multitasking Mania. How many of you think that multitasking is a really good thing and that you're good at it? Oh my goodness, people. Okay. We are not wired to multitask. Multitasking is probably the biggest productivity thief lie you will ever hear. Our brains don't function that way, period. If you are doing something over here, but you're also trying to do something over here, your brain, your thoughts are bouncing back and forth. You are losing time, productivity, and efficiency. Okay? It doesn't work that way, period. It doesn't work. And you lose, and there's been a lot of studies on this along with the positive psychology stuff, you lose 28% of your day. I want you to think about, what could you do with 28% of your day if you got it back? You cannot. You cannot. Doesn't work. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody get out a piece of paper. If you don't have one, I've got stuff here because I've got extra documents for you. I'm going to do this on regular. Everybody at home, paper and pen. Let's print these on the back. You just need a blank piece of paper. All right, so here's what we're going to do. All right, so there's 2 rounds to multitasking mania. In the first round, what you're going to do, and I'm going to start a timer, so you're not going to start doing this until I tell you to go. And I'm going to time you. You're going to write the alphabet, start with A, end with Z. Okay, and then you're going to write 1 through 26 below it. Start with 1, go through 26. Okay, so I'm going to time you A through Z, and then 1 through 26. And people at home, go ahead and yell out as well, because what I want you guys to do is whoever gets all of it done, I want you to yell, I got it, really loud, because then I'll stop the timer. Okay, so I'm gonna time you guys. All right, so ready, set, go.
Got it.
Okay, so the first got it that I heard was at 32.8 seconds. Okay. That wasn't so hard, was it? Okay.
Got it.
All right, we're good. We're gonna start over. Okay, but here's what you're gonna do. Round 2. You're gonna write the letter A, and then the number 1, and then B, and then 2. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna tell you when to start. I'm gonna time you. A1, B2. So letter, number, again. When you are done, I want you to yell, I got it. So ready, set, go.
Got it.
Okay. So how much longer do you think that took?
Got it. A lot longer.
Yeah, a lot longer. Okay. So the first one who got it was at 39.6 seconds. So it doesn't seem like a lot, 7 seconds. But now I want you to look at what you did and I want you to tell me if it's all right.
Cheat.
That's good because most people won't make a mistake. So now think about that. Okay, so for every minute, you're losing 14 seconds based on what we just did. Over the course of an hour, you're losing a lot of time. Over the course of a day, you're losing a lot of time. The average is 28% of your time. So what do you think you need to do based on what you just did? You need to stop thinking multitasking is a good thing, right? Because it's not. Our brains don't function that way. They can't flip back and forth. So what you've done this before, Nikki? How has this impacted you because you've done this before?
It at least has put it in my mind and my brain as I start doing multiple things, I will stop and just make myself aware and then put it off to the side and say, this can be taken care of later. This is not priority number one.
Right. Okay, so now you're aware of it and it's causing you to start changing the way you think. But you still tend to try to do more than one thing at a time, right? Because our society tells us that multitasking is a good thing. You're a really good candidate for this job because you said on your resume, you're a good multitasker. Hey, company owners, duh, you're losing productivity time. Okay, it doesn't work. So what's really important, I don't know how many things. Okay. Because you're interrupting your workflow. So let me ask you this. How many times have you been composing an email and you get interrupted or you stop to do something else you think about and then you try to go back to it? Does it happen to all of us? Do you ever get back to where exactly you were when you stopped? Do you have to rethink for a while the point you were trying to make in that email? That's part of that lost 28% of productivity time. It's called a switch cost. So every time you try to switch your thought process, it's costing you time. So what could you do if you said in the morning, okay, let's go to a typical MREA calendar. If you said at 9 a.m., I am going to time block to make my lead generation calls that I'm going to block from 9 a.m. to 10:30. And I have built a bunker. I have turned off all notifications. And I focused, truly 100% focused just on that activity. What do you think would happen? You'll get done 28% faster. Thank you.
Feel better too.
And you'll feel better. Your mindset, your energy. Now, I'm going to tell you that studies you really shouldn't do more than 90 minutes without a break. Okay, we start getting fatigued by hyper focusing on one thing for more than 90 minutes. So if you do 90 minutes and take a 5-minute break, a 3-minute break, even if it's just to stop and breathe, close your eyes and breathe for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then go back and finish. Just don't let any distractions take you away other than the breathing and taking a break. It will change your energy. But if you're gaining back 28% of your time, that 2-hour block for calls, you probably will get it done in 90 minutes. Do the tough stuff first. Do your priorities, your 20% in the morning. You get to go have fun in the afternoon. Like those trainings, those Zooms we want to get on. And no, I'm not perfect, but I've worked hard at this. But it feels really good when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I've accomplished a ton. And I can go grab my retired husband and say, hey, come on, let's go. Let's go do something. Think about your friends and your family and the time they're not getting from you because you're not focusing on your priorities.
Well, I have an example, personal example that I feel like might fit into this. So when I first started doing real estate, the team that I was on, it was really drilled into me that you have to never miss anything, put the earpiece in, you need to hear everything. And I had spent prior to that a lot of time like taking Facebook off my phone and trying to like get rid of some of that. And so then that was like super overwhelming to me because I just got away from that. And it literally made me feel like I was having a nervous breakdown. So once I moved away from that original spot that I was in, I turned off my ringer and I haven't turned it on since. And I have never not missed an important call when, I do have my phone near me so I can usually see it or it vibrates on my wrist. But when I take a nap, I turn my phone off completely and I don't worry about it because I don't want to be woken up if I need a nap.
Right.
And I haven't missed anything important. I mean, obviously you missed out, but it's not anything that was a deal breaker or a game changer. And I feel so much better.
Isn't it amazing how different you feel?
Yes.
Isn't it? There is nothing in real estate that is so important that you have to be paying attention to your phone every single minute. No one's going to die. No one's hair is on fire, and you are not going to lose a deal if you have your phone off for 2 hours. Ever. I hit 29 years in this business next February. Never. It will not happen. And I see smirks, I see smiles because you're afraid. There's fear there, isn't there?
A lot of it.
What are you afraid of? Are you really afraid of losing something?
Yeah, and I think it's just because the way the market had been, it's just ingrained in me like, oh my gosh, if I don't talk to the agent or whatever right now, they need to know I want to write an offer. If they don't hear from me and I'm waiting for their call, yeah, it's just ingrained, But it's
Those of you that have started in this business in the last 2 years-ish have experienced something different that has programmed you to be fearful of missing something. Did you ever miss anything? I'm curious. No. Okay, did you hear what you just said? Nothing was missed, nothing was dropped, nobody lost something because you didn't respond immediately or pick up your phone immediately. So how does that change how you feel about distractions, time blocking, being all in, focus, and turning off your phone. And I mean turning it on, do not disturb. Okay, my mom, my kids are the only ones that are set up as an emergency so that if they really needed something, I'll still get that call. There is nobody else that's more important. And there's no reason for me to get anybody else's calls if I'm doing my 20%, right? So you just heard Nikki say she's fearful, but yet she never lost anything. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally get that. My ringer's been off for 5 months. I literally haven't turned my ringer on. And I do use do not disturb, and Carlos, my kids, and my mom, and my sister who takes care of my mom, only ones on there.
Yeah.
My biggest distraction, which I don't know how to step away from, is my family. You know, like the dogs are barking, they want to go outside, or one of my kids needs me for something, or Carlos needs me for something. Those are the things that I can't.
And that's
separate
fair. That's a fair concern. So let me ask you this. Do you, obviously Carlos knows what the goals are for the team. Do your kids know?
Probably not. I mean, I guess, no, I'm in a roundabout way, they know that we.
Okay. Do they know? Okay, so think about this. So if you sat down and said, you know what? I want you guys to know this, and the benefit to you is this, and I really need your help. When I go into wherever it is that you're going to, I'm going to close the door. Do you have a room that where you can close? Okay, close the door. I'm going to put a sign on the door. And I'm going to ask you, unless your hair is on fire, do not open the door, do not knock on the door, do not try to just give me this time, because here's the thing. If you allow me to do that and you help me with this, I'm going to have more for you because you are.
That's the understanding.
Okay?
They do understand.
But you got to ask them for their help.
Right.
Okay, my husband is retired. My husband ran the sales. He was a partner in a computer consulting firm for 25 years. He ran the entire sales department. He gets it, and he still would open the door, knock on the door, until I finally said, stop. You know better than this. We need to talk about this. If you want to see me in the afternoon, you want to go out to dinner, and you don't want me on the phone or working until 7 o'clock at night, get the heck out of here. Okay, so if you talk to them, how old are your kids?
19 and almost 18.
That's what I thought. Okay, so they're old enough to understand. They're not 3-year-olds
Right.
wanting money.
Correct.
And I knew they weren't that young. So what do you think would happen if you had a conversation with your family, whoever it is, friends, family, that are your distractions? If you had the conversation, do you think that they would be all in on it?
I think they would probably for sure be all in on it. But
Okay.
I would be like, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Well, okay, it's gonna take some training. This is not gonna happen overnight.
Right, sure.
I've been trying to train my mother to not call me before noon unless her hair is on fire.
Right.
So she sends a text instead. Oh, Mom, I'm working. I keep telling you, and they live close and I want to spend time with them. They're in their upper 80s, but it's like, Mom, I can come have dinner with you. I can pick you up and take you shopping, but you gotta stop.
Mhm.
She's good about 80% of the time now. And so she's getting better, and it's been years. So perfect is not going to happen, but think about, and it's not just the time that you get to give them, you're going to have more energy. You're going to be a much nicer mom. If you feel better, you're going to be a better friend, a better son, a better daughter, because you feel better. And we've all been there, especially the longer you've been in this business. I know I've had my mom call and say, what is wrong with you? What do you mean? I didn't say anything was wrong. I can hear it in your voice. So think about if our family is hearing that, if our clients are hearing that, because we're overwhelmed, because we're trying to do all this stuff. and we're trying to multitask and we're not putting time into our priorities. And then we're not reaching our goals. It's really important for you to do this for yourself more than anything else, yourself and your family first. Okay, so do not multitask. Turn off all notifications. If there are family members, friends, whatever, that are truly, it's critical to get a call from them, like your mom, that's fine. I get it. I love it. He's shaking his head no. I would feel guilty not having my mom on, even though she's the one that is the worst offender of distracting me. But you just don't know. All right, makes sense? Questions, comments, ahas? Thank you for sharing, Tammy. I appreciate that. I love this. This is one of my favorite quotes. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. All right, line number 3, a disciplined life. People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. How many of us wake up in the morning with lots of focus and willpower? We're going to do this today. How many of us wake up with that? Pretty much everybody for the most part. And if you don't, then it happens where we get really distracted or overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is a big problem, and we'll really dive into just really making it really hard to get up and do things. That's why doing one thing, picking one thing, I do this one thing today, I will have won the day. What is the one thing I can do today that's most important? If you don't get anything else done, that's okay. Willpower is a renewable energy source. It is not never ending. It is not unlimited. What do we all do at night for the most part that we shouldn't be doing? Because we have no more willpower at the end of the day. Scroll, we eat junk, we stay up too late, right? But most people don't get a good night's sleep, and why we eat way too much. Most stress eating is done after 8 o'clock at night. Okay, because we've used our willpower to try to focus during the day. Okay, so the way to overcome that is by creating habits. We all try to create habits like all at once. Again, we go too big, or we try to do too much all at once. Now, I have a friend, I love her with all my heart, and she has a lot of health issues, and she's overweight. And I get that, well, I'm gonna do this diet and I'm gonna lose 50 pounds. Okay, what is it? Where are you starting? What are you trying to do? She's laughing because we all know people like that, right? And I've tried to help just pick one thing. Just pick one thing. Don't try to do it all at once because you will fail. And if you do accomplish it, it won't last because we have to create habits. So one thing, so just start with eliminating sugar. He's like, well, I'm not going to eat this and I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to do this. And I'm not like, whoa, stop. You're setting yourself up for failure. So when we create habits around our job, we create habits around making calls. It's one thing at a time. One thing at a time that leads to a second thing, and it's called habit stacking. So what is one thing you can do in the morning, such by doing it, you would actually go do your lead gen. Ideas?
Yeah. That's not going for a while, but every time I would wake up in the morning really early, go to the gym, come back, shower, got crazy burst of energy to get into. And I was when I was going to the gym every morning, I was doing 3 hours.
There you go.
Now that I've stopped doing it, I'm barely able to get to it.
And we do stop, we fall off, and then we have to get back to it. So for you, if you get up early, go to the gym, work out, shower, now you're ready for your work day. You've got a lot more energy. And so you have more success focusing on your priority, on your 20%. Okay, that's what a lot of people will say. What else besides going to the gym?
Make your bed.
Walking the dogs too.
Yeah, taking walking dogs. What else? Anything? How about getting ready the night before? I don't go to the gym. I have Peloton and other things I do at home. My workout clothes are on the bathroom counter so that I immediately put them on when I get up. So I set it up the night before. If I don't, there's a real good chance I'm not going to do it. I'm just not, because to me, it's like, okay, I have 10 other things to do and they're all priorities. No, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do the rest. So make sure you do something. So getting ready for whatever it is the night before, making sure you get up early enough that you can be ready for whatever time you're going to start your workday. If it's 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever works for you. Make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to get ready in the morning and to be mentally ready, to have the right mindset. And a lot of time, I mean, people, I know a lot of people that do something that's called the Miracle Morning. It's a book written by Hal Elrod. I do parts of it, but it's also important to have thinking time. And I think working out a lot of times is thinking time as well, which is great. But thinking time, some people read, meditate, prayer, whatever it is. Make sure you take a little snippet of time for yourself and whatever is important to you, be it working out or whatever, so that you are ready. That's a great habit, because habit stacking. So for me, what's happened, and I know there's others that have a similar setup. I get up, I work out, I read, I meditate, pray, shower, get on the pivot shift call at 6:30 a.m. I am on the call at 6:30. At 7:20, we are off the call. I most days get on one of the script practice with Chris Hurley, who is amazing. If you're looking for all that information for you, if you want it, I try to get on and at least listen for a while. And then I go spend some time with my husband, because I'm not going to start my day with and totally ignore him. That's not a priority yet. Okay. I'm back in my office at 8:30. I check email just to see if there's anything going on that's super important that needs to be addressed, and at 9 o'clock I get on the phone. So I have a routine 5 days a week that's taken 2.5 years that I do most days. Nobody's perfect, including, we just aren't. But by doing that, my entire life is much easier, because I know I'm doing the right things. And even on the days that I miss, the most important day is the next day. So if you miss a day, make sure the next day you get back at it. Don't meet, because sometimes, oh, I screwed up and I'm just gonna, and I'll just wait till next week. Don't do that. Kind of like when you fall off the horse, get back on. But by having the routine and start small, and it's the habits that appear to be disciplined. And it's not, it's just habits. Now, studies say, and most of you that have been here, it takes 66 days to create a habit. That's an average. So in the paperwork I gave you, the last page is the 66-day challenge calendar. Okay. I would encourage you to choose something that you want to create a habit you want to break, a habit you want to create, and then start going through it. Mark off each day. If you miss a day, it's okay.
5 days, my 66 days.
Everything is different. You know, 66, there's a study, the study was done in Great Britain. It is 66 days is the average. Some will take longer, some will take shorter. It depends on what it is. It depends on who you are. So Jeff Woods, who runs the One Thing, there was a habit that he wanted to create that was really hard for him. He's not empathetic. He wanted to develop empathy. It took him 220 some days. It's almost a year. But he didn't give up. He kept trying and changed his mindset. So, you know, think of a habit that you want to create, and it can be personal. I want to walk 15 minutes every day. Don't go real big. Don't say I want to lose 1,000 pounds. That doesn't work. So if it's health related, physical related, business related, I would encourage you to pick something. We're coming up on what time of year? January 1st. What does everybody do on January 1st?
Got a gym membership, they have to use for 6 months.
Exactly. They go to the gym for 2 weeks and then they pay for it for the rest of the year and never go back, right? What else do people do on January 1st?
Resolution.
We're all gonna set, my New Year's resolution is this, right? How many people have done that in their lifetime and didn't accomplish it? Like pretty much all of us, right? He's going, yeah. So we're coming up on a time where everybody else is talking about all this stuff. This is a great time to think about what is a habit you want to create and make it really small and something that you can build on. Okay. Think about your morning. Think about your morning routine and think about setting yourself up to have a successful morning so that you're doing the things on your should-do list that move you closer to your goals. And then gives you 28% of your time back to spend with yourself, your family, your friends, volunteering, the things that you really want to be doing that you're not because you feel overwhelmed. Okay. So you've gone through, everything does not matter equally. We know that. Multitasking is absolutely a lie. It does not work. And there is no such thing as a disciplined life, but you can create habits and change your life. So now, here's the focusing question of the one thing. We mentioned it a little bit about a daily habit. What is the one thing I can do such by doing it? Everything else is easier or unnecessary. This is the focusing question of the one thing. We're going to break it down. So I want you to think about this and jot down some answers. What is your one thing? Think about what would be, if you had to tell me today, what is the one thing? What is your one thing?
Give me an example, but maybe we were on Zoom for the first half hour.
Oh,
Help me
okay.
understand, like, is that like your goal? Is that something that you feel like you need clarity on?
Okay. So truly what we're asking, when you're asking yourself this question, what is the one thing I can do today such by doing it, it will make everything else easier and necessary. You're really thinking about a goal, something that you want to accomplish. And what are the priority steps that you should be taking? So if you look at your GPS, we have a goal, we have priorities, and we have strategies. Those are the things that you move into your 411. Those are the things that you move into your calendar, into your time block. So if it is, you know, a business goal, and you're short, let's say you're making your DTD2 calls, you're making lead gen calls. So what is the one thing I can do today, such by doing it, it will make everything else easier and necessary. If you're focusing on that business goal, and let's say you're behind in your calls, which means you're behind in your appointments, behind in your listings. What is the one thing I can do today? Such by doing it, I will have won the day. You may want to look at your numbers and say, you know what, I'm short. Instead of 10 conversations today, I need to do 15 or 20. Okay, if it's a personal goal, what is the one thing I can do today? It might be taking a 15-minute walk. Okay, and it might be leverage. It could be a lot of different things, but you also have to start small. Okay, you're looking for that first domino that's going to knock the rest of them over. So start small. The example I gave, you weren't here in the beginning, is someone that I was coaching through GPS and 401 wanted to write notes to her daughters.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Okay. By the notes.
Right.
Okay, drill it down really, really as small as you can possibly think of, and then build on it. Now, it could be a bigger goal, and that you're looking at, I want to sell 29 properties in 2023. What is the one thing I can do today that will, what is it? It's make calls, follow-up calls, lead gen calls, go see people, whatever it is that helps you to generate leads. So what is the one thing that you can do? Up the phone, whatever it is. So by doing it, everything else will be easier and necessary. Okay, so when we talk about the one thing and we talk about the focusing question and we talk about goals, there's a lot of stuff out there, right? A lot of stuff. There are 7 circles that we want to look at in our lives. There's 7 things, there's a lot of priorities, there's 7 different things in our lives that are important, that we need to be aware of, and we need to look at where are we at with our priorities. Where are we at with our goals in each circle? Now, I will go through this piece of it in more detail at another time, because there's a lot to go through on this as well. But here's what I would tell you. As you're working through your time blocking and you're working through what your priorities are and what you should be doing, not just all the things you could be doing, you want to look at these 7 circles and think about what is the number 1 priority circle. And I would encourage you to rank them. And I can send you the information for this if you'd like. But for now, just look at it and choose what is the one that you think you want to work on the most. What is the most important circle? And we're here talking about business stuff and lead gen and everything else. Is that your number 1 priority? Is that the one circle that you feel you want to focus on right now? Pretty much everybody's there. Okay. You don't have to tell me, but sometimes a second circle, if you've got some things in that's personal life and business, as long as they're both not really big priorities, you should never, ever be focusing on more than 2 priorities, because that's when you get overwhelmed again. Okay. And then you get pulled away from focusing on what's really important. Okay. Just a little bit of a study that I think is really interesting that they have in here. And you think about your first domino, most people start at the 18th. So when you think you've got your number 1 lead domino, the first habit that you want to create, I want you to really do a deep dive and think if you could go smaller to build up to it. Because most people don't start small enough. Okay. But here's the really cool thing. They did the study and they measured the force from the fall of each subsequent domino to the point where if you had a bigger domino and a bigger domino and a bigger domino, the force created would go, the 57th domino is almost the distance to the moon. So we talked about habit stacking. We talk about the energy and the mindset change you get from accomplishing one thing, just one thing. And that's what this is showing, is think about, you see that first step, that first domino. The first domino is, I'm going to master my morning by going to the gym, showering, and being ready for my work day by this exact time. So then every day you get up and you follow this routine until it becomes a habit. You know it becomes a habit when you don't do it and it doesn't feel right. I go on vacation and I don't get on the pivot shift call, which sounds really bad, and my husband just rolls his eyes. I don't feel right because I missed something that gives me energy. So that really should be where you start, no matter what circle it is, because then do a little bit more, add something else, because the energy and the momentum that you create by really, really small wins is huge. To the point where if it becomes a habit and your whole morning becomes a habit, it doesn't feel right if you don't do it, but your productivity and your success goes through the roof. Okay. All right. So getting to your one thing. If your answer for your one thing is a result, what's the one thing you can do for me, for my business, for whatever circle, such by doing it, everything would be easier or unnecessary. Okay, so think about that. If it's vague or not specific, then ask yourself, how do you know you are successful? Okay, so who has a one thing that they wouldn't mind sharing? Yes, ma'am?
Need to make calls.
Okay. All right, so in my world, that's a little vague. Be more specific.
I need to make at least 10 phone calls in the morning.
Okay, so let's get more specific. Is it calls or conversations?
Conversations. Two-way conversations. I need to have 10 two-way conversations every day,
5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay, so now we got real specific. Okay. Sue said,
If it's a two-way conversation, yes.
yeah, a two-way conversation can be text messages, in email back and forth,
Social media.
social media, yeah, social media, as long as it's an ongoing conversation. But 50% of your calls, whatever your number is, really should be voice to voice or face to face. Okay, that is the best way to really solidify a relationship. Okay, so if you have 10 conversations a day, 5 should be voice to voice or face to face. So now you've gotten very specific. What is the one thing? And it is 10 conversations, 5 days a week. Okay. How will you know you're successful?
Well, my appointments should be more. And therefore, listens should be more.
When you do it and you track it, you know you're going to see the results, right? So she identified, think activity, 10 conversations a day. Time block your one thing. Okay, times and triggers. When is it going to happen? What time is it going to happen? What are you going to do before it that gets you there? Okay. And where are you going to do it?
Want me to interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to do the activity between 8 AM and 10 AM. Monday through Friday. It's time block.
Okay.
I'm having a problem protecting my time block. It's gonna happen in my office and home.
We'll talk about that. We've already touched on
And I'm
these.
so sorry.
distraction.
that I was-
No apologies, no apologies. I'm just glad you're here. It's all good. So 10 conversations. She has her time. It's going to be, the trigger is going to be that time, and everything else before that is done. You've done your habits, your morning routine before you walk into that office, and it is your home office. All right, so let's get into it. When you are time blocking, taking care of ourselves is number one priority, period, end of discussion. You cannot pour into others if your cup is empty. Now, there is a great maps coach, Jenny Wolick's coach, if you know who Jenny is. Jordan Freed is amazing. And he has taught his coaching clients something that has spread. And it's called a 1-3-7. You time block 1 day off a week. And I'm not kidding, cross it off. Pick a day. You do not answer the phone. You do not do anything. 1 day a week. Tony and Sharice are out of the business on Wednesdays. Okay, MindRight still functions because they have a team. Tony and Sharice are out of the business on Wednesdays. If you don't remove yourself and give yourself time, you will, the energy just gets sucked at it. Okay. The 1 3-day weekend a month. Okay. 1 3-day weekend a month where you are off. Recharge. Relax. Go do something fun. Go away, stay here, whatever. 1 day off a week, 1 3-day weekend a month, 1 7-day vacation a quarter. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. And if Sue's gonna have a heart attack because she can't figure out how to do that, can you make it 5 days? Guys, it's once a quarter. It's not once a month. It's once a quarter. Okay, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay, yes, you can do these things. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of anybody else. How hard is it, especially when our kids are younger, for those of us that have kids, how hard is it for us to keep going when they're little and they're up in the middle of the night with ear infection and all this other stuff? Start getting pretty nasty to them, and we have to catch ourselves because we have had no time to recharge, and we cannot pour into them anymore because we've given them everything we have. As a parent, when your kids are little, well, pretty much always until they're, well, sometimes even when they're adults, it's our nature to want to take care of the people around us. Being in this business, it's our nature to want to take care of our clients and be there for them. But we can't do that if we're broken and tired and overwhelmed and crabby. Okay, so first thing, yourself.
Can I ask a question? And maybe it'll be on your next slide, but so for example, I don't know, are you part of a team? No, by yourself?
No, I have a team.
Okay, so then this is good. So say it's your 3-day weekend.
Mhm.
Do you have one of your team members cover you then, or, okay,
Either that, or there's plenty of other people I have around me that are here in this market center that you could say, hey, if I have buyers that want to see something this weekend, are you available?
so do you respond to your buyers, or do you tell everybody, hey, I'm not available? for
I tell people
these?
I'm gone. My email says that I'm gone. I don't 100% ignore people if it's on a weekend like that. I mean, I'll pass it along to somebody. But I'm still not going on appointments. I'm not making calls. You know, I'm not So there's plenty of people that will support you. You need to take time off. Okay, so block your time off. That includes family time. Okay. Pickleball time.
Yeah.
Guys, that's important. It's important. And you're not going to be your best if you don't do that. And time block your one thing. And then time block your planning time. All right. So this is Gary Keller's. You can see how this is. He's got everything written in here. Okay. But here's the thing. Let's go here. Let's look at this. So I have a written planner. Your digital calendar is just a calendar. And I have like lots of different things in there time blocked and they're highlighted. But here's the thing then that I move into the digital calendar. And I want to go through this with you. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know where the camera is. My digital calendar is color coded. Okay. I have a different color for different things. So family time is a different color. Legion time and money-making activities is a different color. Education and training is a different color. Personal time is a different color. So not only do I have it in my planner, I have it in my calendar, and it is color coded. And here's the number one tip I'll give you that was very life-changing for me. I'm sure some people I've shared this with. Pre-time block your appointments. How many appointments do you know? How is it? 1 a week, 2 a week?
Yeah.
One a week. Okay. So for Nikki to reach her goal of 29 closings, she has to make a certain number of phone calls and she has to go on 1 appointment a week to get the number of listings she needs, buyer or seller listings, to reach her goal. Okay. I know I have to go on 3 appointments a week. So my 3 appointments are pre-booked and they're a completely different color. When they're an ugly gold, like that gold that's in there.
What do you mean when they're pre-booked?
I know I have specific times ahead of time. Now, that doesn't mean I can't be somewhat flexible. Okay, I'm not saying that I don't meet with people in the morning unless it's like I really, really, really don't have any other options with them. But I have 3 appointments booked late afternoon or evening during the week. They're gold. It's the only thing gold on the calendar. When I actually book the appointment, I change it to green. I can look at my digital calendar at any time to know that I'm short. Now, so now I have a visual when I look at it and go, oh, I'm doing my planning. It's Sunday night and I only have 1 appointment booked for next week. I guess I better get on the phone tomorrow and call who's most likely to be motivated so that I can schedule another appointment. Okay, the visual really, really helps a lot. So put your time blocking in for your time on. Your one thing, which we're talking business, is our lead gen, lead follow-up appointments, all of that, pre-book it. And then protect it. All right.
So
Yes.
that 1 appointment has to be a listing.
No. Buyer, it can be a buyer contract and not an offer to purchase, a buyer agency agreement. So buyer agency agreement is looked at pretty much the same as a listing agreement. Okay, because a listing agreement signed does not guarantee an offer to purchase and a close. That's why we have to put in our conversion rates when we're running our numbers, because you may take 3 listings in a month and only 2 will sell.
So it's not considered, I mean, if you just have coffee with somebody, if you don't have them sign a buyer agency, then it's not counted.
It does not count.
Has to be.
It does not count as a contract. It counts as an appointment. You don't have to get the contract to get the appointment. Because remember, we're tracking calls, leads, you know, how many appointments, contracts, closings, script practice. So a listing appointment, be it with a buyer or a seller, is not the same as a contract. So buyer agency agreement or listing contract counts for the contract. But I scheduled 3 appointments.
So that's what I need is 1 of those every.
That was the goal for ever, how many contracts you need for the year. Having a cup of coffee with that person.
Having a cup of coffee with somebody is still an appointment. If it is a consultation, maybe that's a better way to put it. If it's a buyer consultation or a listing consultation, those are the appointments you count. Make sense? Does that make it easier?
And that's what I've been doing. I just,
Okay.
to clarify it for others, I think too. Is that, it's always been a gray area.
Okay. So two-way conversations, half of them should be face-to-face or voice-to-voice. Consultations are your appointments. Obviously, we know what the contracts are contracts. So once you've determined, so now we're talking about time block. You need a paper planner. You have your digital calendar and you know what you want to do. Sue wants to call from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. 5 days a week and have 10 conversations 5 days a week. So now we're going to determine, we're going to work with Sue. You have a home office, right? What kind of bunker have you built around that home office?
I have everything that I need for the next 2 hours. I have a glass of water, I have a snack, I have my computer, printer, my phone. My scripts are on the board or behind my computer. And the chair.
Okay,
I have the sign on my door that says please do not disturb. I'm doing my own thing.
okay. So what I hear is that she's really prepared, right?
But I don't go in the office.
She's built a bunker. She has stored provisions. She has water and snacks.
Oh.
All right, let's talk about sweeping for minds.
Yeah.
What distracts you?
Other real estate calls or emails.
Why are you getting calls or seeing emails when you're supposed to be making calls?
Well, I just had a buyer call this morning saying, oh, by the way, I want to see this house too at 12 o'clock when we're showing the other one. So can you add this? Well, now I'm like, sure, let me find out. I got 2 hours to get this showing in to see if I could show it at 12:30 along with my other 12 o'clock showing. So that distracted me.
So if you're calling from 8 to 10,
o'clock,
but if you're calling from 8 to 10, and at 10:01, you wanted to, because no matter if you were calling at 8 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, do you think it would make a big difference to get that showing scheduled?
yeah, I do. I'm thinking it can't wait.
What would have been,
Should I wait?
I want you to think about,
To get it scheduled?
I want you to think about if you would have waited,
Yeah,
what's the worst thing that could have happened?
we wouldn't have been able to see the house.
What do you think the difference would have been if you were logging into showing time or calling the listing agent at 8:30 as opposed to 10 o'clock?
What's the difference?
Do you think it would have made a difference?
It might have, because I wanted to give the seller enough notice for us to get into the home.
What do you think would have happened if your phone would have been on do not disturb and you wouldn't have gotten the voicemail until 10 o'clock? Now, I'm not saying that it isn't possible that if you didn't call sooner, the seller might not have agreed to it to be ready. There are all,
Or it might have been already blocked, like, you know,
but if it was already blocked, it wouldn't have mattered.
but if I would have done it at 8:30, it might have not been blocked. But by the time 10 o'clock rolled around, oops, sorry, I can't see it at that time. Now it got taken. So that's my
And so
anxiety.
what if,
I'm
what
not
if they
being
would have
real.
said, no, that time's already blocked. Can you come at this time?
Whatever time, I mean, from 2 to 6, I'm at my other job. So the answer would have probably been No,
Do you have backup to show properties?
no.
Probably not a bad idea to think about that. The reality is it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference. It's the anxiety, it's the fear of losing out.
That's what I have.
It's the fear of losing out. I would bet that there's probably a chance of 1 in 1,000 that it might have already, I mean, if you're asking a seller at 8:30 a.m. or 10 a.m. if you can come at noon, either way, you're not giving them a lot of time.
Yeah. The time
Uh,
is negligible.
Okay. Those are the things, and it might pop up, but I'm telling you from my experience, I don't think it would have made a difference, because here's the other thing now. How long did it take you to get back to making calls, and did you even get back to making
I
calls?
did not get back to making calls. Because now I'm looking up the condition report for her. She wants me to email that to her before she sees it, and it just,
Okay, so
That's the training we've done for the last few years. If
It
it's a
is.
brand new listing, and
It
you know
is.
all those spots are gonna fill up for a day, and you know this might be gone by tomorrow,
100%,
then that is a critical moment. in time.
100%. You guys have been running ragged, those of you that are working with buyers, because the market, you let the market dictate your business. So, get it.
Anxiety, you may have lost it.
Oh, absolutely, real anxiety, absolutely.
So.
Get it. Your mindset, you should really work on starting to change that mindset. The market's changing. We're not seeing instant 7 million offers in 17 minutes. You've been conditioned, I get it, it's a habit. That's actually, you know what, your 66-day habit, you should break the habit of instant response. Break the habit of feeling anxiety over instant response.
I have a hard time with that, because
You're going to.
I'm good. I'm the instant response person. Like, I feel like if I don't do it right now, I have the now syndrome that I'm gonna forget about it.
I'm gonna tell you, that is your #1 habit that you should start working on. Because that is what always going to stop you from getting to your goals. Because now you didn't get back to making calls this morning. So how many contacts did you actually make? How many people did you actually talk to?
1.
So your goal is 10, you spoke to 1. So you're 9 short. Did you talk to 10 the rest of the week? All right, so if we're looking at 10 a day, that's 50 conversations. How many conversations would you think you're short?
49.
Oh.
I'm being honest.
Okay, so now she has a gap of 49 conversations. How do you make up that gap?
I need to do like, call me and win a freeze.
You need to do something that's going to involve more time, of which you don't have in your time block. All right, I want you to think about what you just said. So she's a gap of 49 conversations. How many extra conversations do you need to have every day next week
To get caught up.
to get caught up with Christmas Eve being next week Saturday?
Not happening. Not happening.
How are you going to reach your goal if you're not willing to look at the gap, spread it out over time, and maybe it's not next week, maybe it's the next 2 weeks? How are you going to reach your goal if you're not protecting that time block?
I have to do something. I have to do like a bold 100 or something like that.
And that you could do that. That's a way to catch up. If you're going to have to do something that's going to take more time that you don't have already blocked. So now you have to find the time.
You know, I'm working Saturday.
And taking time away from taking care of yourself or spending time with your family to make up your gap. How does that feel?
Not good.
No, it doesn't feel good, does it?
No, that's why I work every day.
The perfect example, guys, of why it's important to time block your priorities and do your best to stick with it. Do your best. Nobody's perfect. All right. Sweep for minds. You need to turn your phone off.
Oh my God.
Put it on do not disturb and do not look at your email and do not have people. Every once in a while I'll find somebody and their phone is like constantly lighting up. I'm like, so you're getting alerts for every Facebook message, every email, and like 5 different news sources. How do you do anything? That would drive me nuts. But how do you do anything? Because you're constantly getting interrupted and we cannot multitask. So your brain's going here when it's supposed to be over here, and then it's lighting up again. I can guarantee, so you won't lose. You will not lose something. But that's a habit that's really hard because in this market, buyers have been, I mean, even with listings, it's like, it's not as bad as running with the buyers, but we're so conditioned to have to instantly respond. And it's hard not to. And that's something that I think you really need to work on. That you really need to work on. So phones on do not disturb, no notifications on your laptop. I love that you have everything set up though, including your scripts. Okay, so she's got the right space where she can close the door and put a note on it. I have a note on mine too. I actually have a lock on it, so that even helps that more because I could actually physically lock the door. But when you can have a dedicated space and dedicated time and focus on that one thing, I guarantee you will be shocked at how much better you feel. You will be shocked at how much energy you have when you're done. I call for 90 minutes. I can tell you when I am done, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Okay. Your mindset changes, your energy changes. And when your mindset and energy changes, you will do more activities. And then you're going to be done. And then in the afternoon, you can do what you want. Or at night, you can go with your friends and play pickleball. Or do whatever else it is that you want to do. Okay. So enlist support. Talk to your kids. Say, hey, you know what? This is really important to our family, and here's why. My kids listen. They don't try to call me in the morning or text anymore. It's just my mom. And it's a lot less than it was. But train them and enlist support and say, hey, look, I would love to take you out to lunch. If you don't bother me this morning until 11:30, I'll get done with what I need to get done, and I will come and get you, and I will spend dedicated time with you. I can't do that if I don't have my stuff done. Okay. So, you know where you're going to do your one thing. Does everybody have a space? Yeah, space.
Phone booth downstairs.
I love those phone booths. I seriously love those phone. They're awesome. They're awesome. Especially, but I have to turn my back to the door. I can see people moving. Yeah, that's the only thing. But it's okay. You can't hear anything there. It's really good. And in turn, there's a little fan in there so it doesn't get too hot. They're awesome. All right.
Where's the fan?
So isn't there a little fan on the wall?
I think that was just a vent.
Oh, is it just a vent?
If there's a fan in there, I've been doing everything in life wrong. It's so hot in there.
It does get hot, but isn't there, I thought there was a way to, I'm gonna go look now, because isn't there a little like button or something in there? And it might be a vent to pull the hot air out.
Yeah,
There's something in there. It is, because it gets hot. It does get warm in there if you're in there for an extended period of time. All right, provisions. Water, Sue has snacks. I literally moved my coffee maker into my office. It is not in my kitchen.
That's dedication.
Okay, sorry, I'm a coffee drinker. It is in my office, and my son, I have a military son who lives on coffee as well, and he was here for something else without the family, stayed with us, and he got up in the morning. He's like, where's the coffee? Like, it's in here. And he just kind of looked at me and I went, kind of looked and I put, and he's a special operations command, so the guy's like the most focused human on earth. And he went, oh, so that you can have your coffee and not have to come out here and know that dad's gonna talk to you. Yeah, you get it. Okay, coffee maker's in my office. What's in your bunker that will distract you? I want, think about this. What is in your bunker that will distract you? Get rid of it.
They're all things that I gotta do. They're all one things. Like, you know, they're all.
Oh, those should not be anywhere in sight.
Okay.
Your to-do list and your should-do list should not be anywhere in sight when you're making calls. Because you're going to see it and go, oh, I gotta remember, I gotta do that. That distraction is gonna take you away from what you're doing and it will take you longer to get it finished. Who are those people? Get them to help you. Of all of them, who's the one most likely? Have a conversation with them. And what can you say proactively so they don't do it? Make sure they understand, hey, I want to spend more time with you. I can't if you don't let me do my job first. I love you. I'm locking the door. Go away.
You got any scripts to explain that to a girl?
Oh, boy, no. One is, yeah, that's tough. It is, it's tough. When they're really little,
Do it when they're taking a nap.
well, I was just gonna say, I know of people that change their time block and block it around their nap time. And the other thing that you know, get creative with it if you have to. If you're going to do two-way conversations that are via text or social media, do it at night after they go to bed. I mean, one of my, if I'm around at night and because I don't go on Facebook a lot, I will scroll through, but what I'm really looking for is two things. Did my kids post anything about my grandkids? Any pictures, stuff that's going on? And who of my clients might have posted something that I can either respond, text them and just say, hey, I saw you guys got a new puppy. She is adorable. What breed? And start, because if you ask a question, they will respond and you're starting into a conversation. That could be a way for you to catch up on your gap. Go to Facebook, look at what your clients are doing, communicate with them, have a two-way conversation.
Probably have more conversations than I'm giving myself credit for throughout the day. Because it's not sitting in my office making a phone call, but I don't count those.
Well, but are they truly care calls and lead gen relationship building conversations?
Yeah, they are. So.
Okay, then you need to think about that.
Yeah.
So, I would-
I think I will start tracking that a little bit more.
Yeah, make sure they qualify. If they
Yeah.
qualify, you should. There's a group that does a texting lead gen on Zoom, you know, because we've got all the script practice in the morning and people are making calls. There is a group that does, I think it's 3:30 to 4:30. And they text clients together. But it's accountability because they're on together and they're texting, and then at the end they talk about how many people did they connect with. Did anybody say they needed any real estate help or knew of somebody that did? Okay,
I don't know if they're still doing it. I don't know, so the same sort of deal for the gen calls. It's on Zoom. I would say just if anybody wants to talk to you, talk to him, see if they're still doing it. I find their call once or twice. Everybody just keep the cameras on, their mics off.
that's what in the morning, all of those morning lead gen script practice, they stay on Zoom, keep their cameras on, call.
They'll probably be good.
Hold you accountable. Sometimes we need to be held accountable. Okay. So, was this helpful?
Thankfully.
Very much.
Share with me one thing that you heard, if you can, that you're going to try to implement right away.
Paper planner.
Okay.
what is that you said while we were on Zoom, you mentioned a particular planner. Can you repeat what that was?
Right here, paper planner, planner pad.
And
Okay, so what I love about planner pad is it's got the whole year in it, so you can mark all your days off. But what this gives you the opportunity to do at the beginning of each month, it's got a blank page. Most planners don't have this. And this is where I dump all of my to-do stuff. And I just dump it here, but I can't see it when I go to, because then when you get the month there, then when you go to the actual days and the dates are on here, I now can take this and say, okay, here's priorities. Because I'm not looking at the long list, priorities and all my appointments. Okay. What is my one thing? What are my priorities? Here's my time block. Because when you have a long to-do list, even if you highlight your 3 priorities, here's what I should do. Here's my 3 things that I should do. If you keep it on that one list and you keep looking at that list, all you see, your unconscious mind sees failure because it sees all the things that aren't done. If you move it to the short list of what I should be doing, things that are going to move me forward towards my goal, things that are going to move me forward to having more time for my family, whatever it is, pick your 2 or 3 priorities. And if that's all you see and you accomplish 2 out of the 3, that's a success, that's a win. And your unconscious mind sees that as a win. If you put your one thing first, what is the one thing I can do today? Since by doing it, I will have won the day. That's what I put at the top and I highlight it. Because when you look at your planner, that's what you see. And then when you do it, I cross mine off. I highlight it and then I cross it off. Because that's a success. That's a win. And the more you do that, the easier it gets to do more and to stay motivated and focused. Anybody else have something? And yeah, just, you know what? I'll post because they have several different ones. I'll go in, I got it from Amazon. I'll post.
I just pulled it up.
Okay, this one, because they had a couple different ones.
I think it's that one.
Okay, because the other thing that I really like about this, some of them are so darn thick. And they're hard to carry around. I mean, like even the bold planner is really big. This gives me everything to do exactly what we talked about. And okay, so you order planner. Anybody else have something that they're going to implement? What's the one that?
I'll order a planner.
We're going to have to work with you on letting go of that anxiety. There is nothing in real estate. You guys got to figure this, okay? I know the market. The market created that habit for you. It did. It was not something that you were in control of. It was a reaction that was needed.
And I think I'm still in that reaction. And I want to provide good service. So I want to answer the phone when they're calling and say, oh, my realtor, she never picks up the phone. I don't want to be that realtor. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know, it's okay, I get it.
I have that same issue, and this goes back to what you said earlier about trying to multitask and not doing a very good job, because like, for an example, I have a loan commitment coming up due. It's not actually due until Monday, but I was getting ready to walk into my yoga class at like 6 in the evening and saw the loan commitment came through in my email. And I like literally felt like I needed to address it that minute. And I have already had the permission to deliver sign. So
Okay.
I sent it quick off before I went to my yoga class. And then I come out and the agent's like, awesome, but could you send me a copy that the buyers have actually signed? I didn't scroll all, I looked through all the terms, but I didn't scroll all the way to the bottom and see that the lender didn't have the buyer. So now I've created another step and I probably look stupid.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's
Right, and-
me
and-
to a T.
I the whole drive home, and I was like, oh, yep, sure, sorry, I'll take care of it as soon as I get. And the whole drive home, I kept telling myself, stop doing that, because now I've created an extra step, and I feel stupid, and I probably.
And
look
you
stupid.
took time away from filling your own pot,
Right,
which is important.
Right.
Okay, so what do you think you could do differently when this happens again that would stop you from taking action immediately?
Well, first of all, I shouldn't be looking at it on my phone. I shouldn't be looking at it on my phone. I should just,
Turn off
whatever.
your phone.
And I think that somehow I have to force myself to, I should have taken more time to read through the document, and I know I can't do that on my phone because it's too small and I can't see that well. So I should have somehow said to myself, this is literally not due for another week.
Right, right.
When you get home and have your office scheduled time, that's what I should do.
Okay, so I heard two different things. If you are going to a yoga class, and this is important for you, should your phone be on do not disturb?
Yes. And it's not even that it's not because even if it is do not disturb, it's my stupid mind that physically will go into my email. Before I walk into my yoga class, I look at my phone to make sure I haven't missed anything because I know that I'm gonna be unavailable for an hour and at least 15 minutes. Because that's how long my class is.
Is anybody gonna die in an hour and 15 minutes?
And I
Okay,
have
so-
gotten better with that because I did come
Okay.
out one day and saw there was a missed lead and Carlos was also in appointment or something. He missed it also. And I, instead of having a panic attack about that, I was like, okay, well, whatever, the next one.
Okay,
That's a huge step for me.
yeah.
I was fine with that. I am making tiny little bits of progress.
So I hear, I maybe a 66-day habit, even though you don't go every day, could be before I go to, when I am in the car and I am leaving to go to my yoga class, I am going to put my phone on do not disturb and I am not going to look at it until I get back home. It's gonna feel really, really wonky for a while.
I'm gonna do that. I am gonna do that.
I
need to
mean,
do that.
and that, because that time is important to you. If we don't pour into ourselves, you cannot. You cannot, you will not have the energy. So that's a really good one little habit. And mark off every day that you go. And if you miss a day, that's okay, start over. Because you don't need to do that. And then your mindset's completely changed in your yoga class. Because now your thoughts are someplace else. Anything else that anybody's going to implement?
My big takeaway, it wasn't something to implement, but it's about, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? That's kind of, I think about that exact saying after I say yes to something and say no to something else, but I never really think about it or actually doing something. So, for example, like I had a really big opportunity to sit down and have coffee with a big investor that I was going to be working with, and saying yes to go meet with him. I turned down a family member who was looking to buy a house as well. Their price range was kind of lower, so I'm like, well, your family, I know you're not really just going to turn away. I'm going to go meet with this guy who may be looking to work with me. I spent 3 hours with this guy for him to tell me I'm too new for him to work with me anyways. And then now my family member kind of feels like, oh, he threw me to the side. And it took me a couple of days for me to rebuild that relationship back up. So now I'm working with them, but I don't think about that. Like if I'm saying yes to this, saying no to that, what depth does that really have?
It's a
So that was my
big,
big takeaway.
really important question. It really is. And it can be very life-changing. We tend to say yes quickly without thinking. If I say yes to this, does it move me closer to my goal? If I say yes to this, who or what am I saying no to? And you said no to your family, and that didn't feel very good, did it?
Thought it was
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that
think about it.
I am so glad you heard that because that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And if it's something that's going to cost you money that you have to invest in, the questions are, Is it in my budget? So if I can say, yes, it would move me closer towards a goal. I would not be saying no to family or something that's a priority. Now, is it in my budget? And what can I anticipate for return on the investment? There's a lot of great training out there, but if it doesn't move me closer to a goal, or if there's something that I want to invest in, but I don't see how I'm gonna get enough of a return on my investment on it, I'm gonna say no. We tend to chase all the shiny new things that come out, right? Okay, $600 a month, and I can have custom made videos. Right? That's a lot of money. There's all that stuff. So was this helpful?
Yeah, very good.
Good. I'm really glad. You guys know that I'm available if you have questions. If you want to start going through more GPS 411 stuff and drill down a little bit, let me know. Because we can do little Zoom workshops on that. I've done that in the past.
Did you post or put in the drive? We talked about it last week. I think it was something about the smart plans. Did we get to that yet or?
Oh, what was it? Was I supposed to post the birthday letter?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I'd have to look at my notes and of course. I'd have to look
You can remind me because there are some things that I did send to Kelly, but I think there's not everything's there. So I will,
at- All right, I'll look at my notes when I get home today.
yeah, I will,
See what it was. I know there was something that we talked about that either in the drive or
did I send her?
not that.